And welcome to another Level 3 Technical Certificate tutorial on beating curves. In this session we're going to look at the curve that relates to opacity, caliper and roughness. So here we see the curve, you see it relative to other curves that we've discussed in the course. And what is it that contributes to this? Well, first of all, let's have a quick look at light scattering. If we imagine here 3 unfibrillated fibres and here 3 fibrillated fibres, then think about what happens to the light. Light comes down, it hits the first fibre, and there we have an air fibre interface. Some light will pass through and some light will be scattered backwards. When you come out of the fibre, you've got another air fibre interface, so exactly the same will happen again. Some light will pass through and some light will be scattered backwards. Here we have another air fibre interface, the same thing happens, and another fibre interface, air fibre interface, the same things happen. So very, very little of the light that impinges on the surface of the paper will actually pass through. Most of it will be scattered backwards, therefore you will have an opaque sheet of paper. Once our fibres have been subjected to beating or refining for a considerable time, we will have done some external fibrillation, we'll have done some internal fibrillation, we'll have done some delamination, the lumen will have collapsed, and we will have pushed water into the fibres, making the fibres swell, as you see here. The implications of making the fibres swell is with a lot less air fibre interfaces now. So there's your first air fibre interface, some light is backscattered, some passes through, and now we're at the other side of the sheet. Some light is backscattered, some light passes through, but most of the light goes through, and therefore we now have a transparent piece of paper. So I hope this helps you understand how refining increases transmittance of light, reduces opacity. Next we need to look at the caliper of the sheet. Here you can see we have our unrefined fibres or unbeaten fibres, still like tubes. During the refining and beating process the lumen collapses so they become a lot flatter, and therefore you've increased the smoothness of your sheet. Decrease the roughness or increase the smoothness depending on what property you prefer to measure. So a summary of what we've talked about in this session. Increases in fibre-fibre contact will reduce air fibre interfaces, therefore it will reduce light scattering and therefore it will reduce opacity. The collapsed lumen will reduce the caliper of the sheet, so you will have a much thinner sheet. Just in passing, if the sheet is thinner but the weight is the same, therefore we are increasing the density of the sheet. And finally, the collapsed lumen will flatten the fibres, and therefore you'll have a much smoother sheet as well as a reduced caliper sheet. Thank you for listening to this short session, and please follow us on any of this social media.